Is it a director's job to make an actor feel safe?
Yes, probably the most important job of anything a director does, because the actor is, to some extent, putting themselves in your hands, because you're the judge. You're watching what they're doing, and you have to be careful not to let them look bad. So you want them to not feel, because the problem is that if an actor develops a distrust for the director, and they feel like they've got to direct themselves, it's problematic because now the feeling is that maybe I don't want to take a chance. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be too big here because I can't trust this person to tell me if I'm being too big. And so now you get a guarded performance that's not real, not true. So you want to try, and in some ways with actors you're just meeting, you can only do it by virtue of working together and trying, like proving it. But you do want to make them feel like, look, I will not let you look bad, and you're safe, and I want you to try. Give me everything. Just don't be afraid. And together we'll find the right tone and the right way to do it. So it's about building trust. It's the most important thing.
What do you think they're afraid of looking bad at it? They're overacting?
I think overacting or underacting, or just, because you always have, as a director, I think you always have to remember that it's the actor's ass that's out there. That actor's on that screen. They're being judged. People in the audience not saying, "Gee, that director, I don't know. I think he gave him a bad piece of advice there." They'll just look at the actor and they're responding. That actor is making me feel I believe him or her, or I don't. So that's a heavy responsibility for an actor to carry. It's scary, frightening. That's why I think they're so brave. So they're going to go out there in this tightrope, and they got to be sure that you're going to be able to tell them when they're stepping a little bit too far, too far to the left, and they're going to fall. Because I can't imagine a more bitter experience for an actor than to watch themselves on screen and think, "Oh my God, look how big I was there," and the director didn't catch it. Now I look like an idiot, because you can't always know if you're an actor if it's too big or too small, or it's I missed that opportunity. So it's a big responsibility for a director. It's a scary responsibility. But that's why one reason I love working with actors I've worked with before. It's great. People I have relationships with, and we trust each other. We know each other. We have that shorthand. It's a really nice feeling.
You think a lot of newer actors are afraid to look too big? I like how you said that. Go big, like don't let him take this scene away from you. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I do think you always have to be careful. Just about, because the camera is, the camera sees things more clearly than the naked eye, and close up. And I remember we were discussing Carl Malden, earlier today. Actually, what a wonderful guy he was, what a great actor, kind of underrated, even though he's an Oscar winner, but he's an underrated actor. And I did a movie with him, and it was a feature film, and it was shot on film. And so I'm doing his close-up, and I'm watching, and I just wasn't sure he was getting there. I was nervous. And I was only like 26 or whatever at the time. And so I didn't quite have the courage to say to Carl Malden, Oscar winner, Elia Kazan working, actor, "Hey, Carl, could you be a little..." So I just kind of let it go. I thought, okay, if this doesn't work in the dailies, I'm going to try to find a way to reshoot this tomorrow, and I'll just have to broach it with him. But when I saw the dailies, it was a whole different performance. What was happening in his eyes and the little thing in his mouth, and he had a mastery of his instrument, and it wasn't visible on the street to the naked eye of me standing there 3 feet behind the camera. But on screen, I saw, and I was so glad I didn't, say, "Carl, could you make that a little," I would have given myself away as a, novice, which of course no one suspected otherwise anyway. But it was a great lesson that film actors, especially experienced great film actors, know exactly how to modulate their performance depending on where the camera is. And sometimes you can see it with the naked eye, sometimes you can't.
What do you think about actors giving you a different performance each take?
It's a healthy thing. I think it's, as long as you've gotten the performance that you need. That it gets troublesome if you still haven't gotten what you really felt the scene needs, and now we're trying something different. But I think in the right circumstances, it's great to have it in the cutting room. And sometimes they'll come up with something and we're like, wow, you know. And oftentimes with actors, I'll just sort of, if I feel like they have this gift, once we get a take I like and I'm printing it and I'm ready to move on, sometimes they'll just say, you know, let's just try one more and go nuts. Let's see what happens. And most actors love that. Some don't, but most do. And you get something that could be just amazing or not, but it's worth going for, and you have the safety of knowing you have what you need. There's a moment where it gets abusive in that the actor never wants to move on. I haven't really had that experience. I've seen other directors have it. And it's a little bit of a nightmare where you feel like, okay, 55 takes and, you know, I don't want to direct this in the cutting room. I'm directing it here. So, you know, that's sort of the danger area that I guess. But you know, I love when an actor has a different way of doing things and wants to try something different and feels free enough, you know, to do that. I think it's great and should be encouraged.
What if a director can tell that something is untruthful or not working with an actor in a scene? How do you approach the actor?
It's a tricky and difficult thing, I find anyway. But I think the most important thing to keep in mind is to speak, first of all, privately and quietly with the actor. That's, you know, I visited people on sets and I see these directors over in Video Village at the monitor, and cut. No, you're not funny enough. It's got to be funny. Make them laugh, you know. And the actors, oh my God, I just think that's horrible. You know? So I tend to, after every take, even if I don't have a note, I will go to the actor and just, you know, hey, doing good. This is great, you know. And I just try to talk about something softly, because if you give an actor an adjustment publicly, now everyone's watching and they know now they're being judged. Did they get this note? Did they nail it? Is it still not right? You know, it's a little bit. So I just try to work very privately with the actor and just give them just a gentle thing. And I never, give them, as I said, like a line reading. I just try to get them to ask themselves questions about what are you feeling here, you know? And if I feel something's wrong, it's not working, I'll just say to them, so what are you feeling in this, you know, in this scene? And they'll tell me, and sometimes that's like, of course, so that's not at all what we're really doing here. And I'll say to them, well, try this. You know, what if you were feeling this? And usually they'll go with that. You know, there's always a moment where they, nope, I don't want to do that. You know, then now you're in the bad actor director, you know, nightmare, which is very hard for the director to win unless you're a big director. But I find that most of my relationships with actors has mostly been really healthy and positive and respectful. And, you know, I sort of get the courage it takes to do what they do. And I do feel, because as a writer, sometimes you get locked into a certain cadence you hear about the line, the way the line has to be spoken. And the actor doesn't see it that way. And they're not saying it that way. And if it's really egregious, I might say to him something, or her, something specific as, I'd love to hear that, just with the emphasis on that word instead of this word, and see how that, you know. And I get a good result sometimes I don't. And what I've learned is that you just have to let it go at a certain point if the actor is just not doing it, even if they're trying hard to do it. If they don't hear it the way you hear it, it's going to be false if they force themselves to do it. So many a time I just have to walk away thinking, I'm not going to force them. And the reality is, you're the only one in the world who knows that there was a different meaning about that line or a different emphasis on that line. So it's always going to bother me when I hear it, but no one else is ever going to notice it or feel it. And so you have to kind of let go and you know, not make everything so precious. Because an actor, if you cast the right actor, you want them to bring to the table their interpretation, their quirks, their ideas, and it's going to sometimes bump up against yours. And unless it's something that's really story altering, you know, I almost always go in favor of what the actor wants to do, unless it's just, you know, it's crazy. But I trust their instincts, and they know what works for them, and so I'm usually happy to let them do it. By the same token, if an actor ever asks for another take, yeah, absolutely. And that can get abusive too. It could be a point where they don't want to move on. They're just going to, let me try one more time. But I think you're crazy. Even though you might have a take that you think is fantastic. That's a great take. I'm ready to move on. You want to move on. You have to move on. But the actor says, can I just try one more? You got to do it, because it might be something incredible. Even if it isn't, the actor knows that they're heard and that they got their shot, and that you're not going to just cut them off.